My producer's got some stuff for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, so I don't know how much you know about me, but I've been part of many tribute bands. I've done all the tracks for all the acts.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So
Cool.
the reason I'm telling you this is I've never seen a tribute act that is, you literally are redefining what the word tribute act is, because it really is a tribute. I've worked with so many bands that are, it's
Thank you
just
so
band
much.
trying to get work. I'm just saying it because it's true. I work with so many bands that are just trying to gig. Who can we do? Who can we imitate? Because I've watched your video. I mean, I know every second of that video. I mixed every moment. I cut every angle, right? So no
Thank
one's
you
watched
so
that video
much.
closer than me. But what really came across to me is that this is really a celebration of his life. And that came across many times. And the moments.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
And the moments that you talked about in your concert where you pay tribute to him really come across.
There'll only be one Ozzy. There'll never be another one like him. We were lucky to have him in our lives, and there'll never be another one like him at all. I'm telling you right now. There'll be some that will try to get close to being like Ozzy, but they're all going to be pretenders, man. There's no one else but Ozzy. So when I do this, it's to give Ozzy props.
Is it the same show all the time, or are you switching the songs?
Basically, it's the same. We'll switch songs left a little bit much because right now we play such a wide area. We're playing all over the United States, literally.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to Alaska. We've already played Hawaii, and then we're playing everything in between. So we try to keep that show exactly what the last town saw. So that this way, and the reason why I do it this way is because, number one, I want to get it to the point where you don't have to think about it. You just do it. And number two, I want to be able to say, this is what we present for this tour. And I might have somebody say, hey, can you play this song? Can you play this song? I will put it in the next time we come back around. But everybody gets the same taste of the pie. You know what I mean? On each tour that we do. Before the show starts, there's a lot of people don't know this, but before the show starts, I usually, when the venue's right for it, I usually get into my coffin, and I can see the guys on the other side of the stage. Sometimes we'll make funny gestures at each other because we're all getting all excited. We all fist bump, even the crew, and then I jump into the coffin, and when I shut the door, there's a cutout. The cross is cut out. And there's a black screen that I can see, but you can't see through in. And when they roll me out, I can see at least the first 5 or 6, 10 rows of people. And I can see the excitement on their face. And which gets me excited. And then I hear, usually we start with Mr. Crowley. And I'm still in the coffin for the first little part of that organ solo. And I can hear the drummer behind me. He's crashing on the cymbals where he's supposed to be crashing. And then the song starts, and I'm got my hand on the door handle. And as slowly as that door swings open, I almost feel like I'm going to jump out of my own skin. It's the response of the people's faces with what I feel and what I see. It's just totally addictive. And that's one of the reasons why I do it, is because you can't get that from anything else. It's just, it's like magical. That's the one thing I really take with Mr. Crowley. I don't know is where I really start connecting with the audience, because now I'm working side by side and seeing like the faces, and that might give the odd hand slap or fist bump, but I'm connecting now with the audience, and just the pure enjoyment in their faces. No matter what's going on in my life, as soon as and I'm lucky, I've been really truly blessed. I'm blessed with a wife that supports exactly what I do. I'm with my son, so I'm not completely away from home. You know, through my head, I can hear my wife's voice saying, before I end each call before a show, say, Vinny, remember, they paid a lot of money to see the show. Have a good show. And that's just like, wow. All these thoughts go through my head on that song. And it makes me realize that I have a job to do right now. And then that's when I start really getting to the whole real bit, try to get the crowd excited. We do like Over the Mountain. I think sometimes they question if it's really me singing, which is really cool.
So I want to tell you. So as I've been doing this mix, I always come back to it, and I show it to people that I know. I work at Disney. I know a lot of sound people, right? So this is going through lots of filters, right? And until I explained it to them that it was not Ozzy, they thought it was an Ozzy concert. 100%.
Well,
yeah.
Got to make sure they weren't drinking, though.
No, these are audio guys. Yeah.
Oh, I appreciate it. I really, really, swear to God, I do.
I'm just reporting the truth, right?
Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate you really very much.
There's a song you dedicated to Sharon.
That's Mama, I'm Coming Home.
Yes.
It's funny because before Ozzy passed away, when I was doing that song, I used to dedicate that to my wife. And I said, and I would have like a little speech saying I'd say, hey, I'm going to sing this to my own Sharon. And, my wife is Jolene. I wasn't going to say Jolene, but I said, my wife knew that was my way of kind of like dedicating a song to her for all the appreciation and the support that she gives me. But once Ozzy passed away, the day he passed away, I really, I struggled for at least a day, wondering if I was going to continue doing this. I was upset like any other fan. I mean, it was it shook me. And all of a sudden, I couldn't stop thinking about, okay, now instead of impersonating a live person, now I'm impersonating someone that just passed away. And I struggled with that. And I talked to my wife that night about it, because I remember where I was when I first heard it. I was watching, believe it or not, I was watching the news, and I think it was mid-afternoon, and it came on that Ozzy passed, and I was in disbelief. And my wife, the first thing my wife says is that could be fake news, Vinny. And I'm like, it's got to be. And I went immediately to my phone, and I'm scrolling, and all of a sudden I see all this pouring out for Ozzy. And, so I started kind of crying,
Sure.
And I told my wife, I said, no, I think it's true. And before I went to bed, my wife told me, she said, she says, you see how bad you're hurting? And I said, yeah. I said, I can't believe he's gone. I just said, he looked okay 2.5 weeks ago. She goes, well, there's a lot of people out there now that are hurting. So, and she was the one that told me, she says, you need to go out there And instead of you calling yourself a tribute band now, you're a celebration to life band. She says, so when you say you're a tribute band, yeah, but she says, but then you need to tell everybody that right now this is a celebration of the life of Ozzy Osbourne.
I want to dedicate this to Sharon Osbourne. Because I cannot imagine, as sad and maybe how tragic it is for some of us for losing Ozzy, I cannot imagine what she must be going through living with someone like that for over 40 years, and then just like that, he's gone. So I send this out to Sharon, Jack, Kelly, Amy, and all the grandkids. I'm not coming home. Times are strange, here October, I ain't the same. Mama, I'm coming home. Years go by, seems to be, you could've been a better friend, you. Mama, I'm coming home.
My next show that we were doing was a huge festival in Ohio. About maybe possibly 10,000 people out there.
Wow.
And I usually come out of a coffin. And I really struggled with that. I was really scared because I figured, I don't know how he just passed away. I don't know how people would take that. And I went to the guy, the head of the venue that was doing this big concert outside, and I had a little discussion with him. I said, listen, I usually come out of a coffin, and I'm really scared to do this tonight. I said, Ozzy just passed, and I said, I know that you guys, because when we were setting up, he was like flipping out on the coffin. He couldn't believe it. He said, you guys this is great, this is great. So he assured me no matter what happens, he would take the blame for it. He says, I'm a huge Ozzy fan, just about as big as you are. And he says, and I want to see you come out of that coffin. Okay, that's all right. But if it would have really went sour, what am I going to do? Go in front of 10,000 people and say, hey, listen, this wasn't my idea. This was this guy's idea. So I was taking a huge chance, and it worried me. And I talked to the guys in the band, and they just said, hey, just go with whatever you feel. So I went in, said a little prayer, hopefully that I don't get nothing thrown at me or whatever. You never know. And it went over really good, to the point where I remember turning around and I was staring at the drummer while Dylan was doing a guitar solo, because I had tears coming down my cheek, because I was really, for that second song, I was just like relieved. I was just completely relieved that I didn't offend anybody, because that's the last thing I would ever want to do.
I don't want to change the world. I don't want the world to change me. I don't want to change the world. I don't want the world to change me. Oh,
Yeah. Between you and me,
Yeah.
I just wanted you to really know where that stuff comes from, and how much deeply, not just me, but the whole band, how deeply we think about, doing Ozzy as a total respect, and for him and for his family.
Yes.
So we just, we on our website, if you go on our website, you'll see where, we have Ozzy's Parkinson's charity. So, we ask people to please, in Ozzy's name, to, give what you can give and stuff. So we try to do a complete everything for Ozzy.
Yeah, it's very apparent. Have you communicated with the Ozzy people? publicists or?
No, the only one that I spoke to was his guitar player.
I say it one more time.
His guitar player, and he said that he liked how serious we took this project, and the respect, and we wanted to take pictures with him, but you know why. But and a beautiful person. Zakk is great. The love for he has for Ozzy is great. Actually, it's funny because I've had people comment to me that they can see a real connection between me and the guitar player in my band, and I tell them, "Hey, that's my son." And that's your son. Yeah, that's my son. Oh my God, I knew it was something between you guys. And a lot of them said, he got the same thing that Ozzy had with Randy or Zakk. It was always those two guitar players that they would mention. And they said, you can't fake that. And even my own agency says that. She says, that's something you can't fake.
Could this content that we've made for you, could this be of any use? I mean, am I dreaming, imagining that they would want to see this, or
maybe?
Yeah,
I'd like to think so. I'd like to think that I would like to think that no matter who sees it, I want them to know that we put a lot of thought, a lot of hard work, musicianally wise, incredibly hard work. I mean, it's not easy to play Zakk Wylde stuff, Randy Rhoads stuff, even Jakey Lee stuff.
Right.
Those guys were tremendous monsters, and it takes dedication so that you're not just wailing whatever. My drummer Mike, he'll sit there and listen to live stuff, listens to the recording stuff, tries to blend so that it's authentic to the record, but still produce the live sound. If you're a musician, you'll know exactly what I'm trying to say. Same with the bass player. Those three guys just, it's like textbook.
Right.
They want to really make sure that they get the I's dotted and the T's crossed on every note that they play. It's remarkable.
I was going to make sure that I touched on this because the chops of these guys is phenomenal.
Oh yeah. If the place gives us enough time, we'll do Diary of a Madman because that's a big Randy Rhoads tune.
Do you know that
Yeah.
that happened like 4 miles from our studio?
Really?
You were
Wow.
10 miles away. You come back to Florida, I'll take you there.
Wow.
Still
I
there.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, see, the thing is, what I was going to say is, if I was going to showcase one song, it would be that one. The way Dylan plays it. I've heard other guitar players play it. They do it really well. The way Dylan plays it is, bone to bone, finger to finger, sweat to Zakk. I really, to the point where I have to remind myself to sing when I'm singing because I'm just listening to him play it, and really, if I wasn't watching and Zakk stepped in, and I would have swore it was still my son, and I'd be like, oh, geez, Zakk. Really, it's that. And I have to really mentally, okay, don't think about that. Get ready for my position to sing. So there's a part in the song where everything comes down and the music goes down. And before I say this sickening mind and spirit, the mirror tells me lies. I've got a skull that I'm actually singing to. Okay? And I at one time what I wanted to do is I wanted to incorporate a vanity with a mirror and somehow have my face go through the mirror on that one particular part. So it looked like I'm singing in a mirror, but the audience could see me. We built something similar to that, but it was a pain in the ass to bring on the road. It kept breaking, just so dainty. It looked like something that Ozzy would have, but it was just so fragile.
Right.
So I figured, well, I'm going to do like Shakespeare and sing to this skull. And I think what I kind of think of is I try to get in my Ozzy face and say, I think Ozzy would do something like that if he was playing in a 1,000 seats theater and that more intimate. I could see Ozzy maybe possibly doing what I'm doing here. And for me, that song, the way the drums, the bass kicks in, the guitar, the whole theatrics of it, I'm very proud of. I'm really, really proud of it.
Well, he must play all different kinds of music, but like when did he?
He did. Dylan started with me when he was 13 years old. And that was not my idea. It was my wife's idea. Dylan, and it's really, really funny. Look, what happened was Dylan was a good football player. I thought it was, no offense. I know you're from, oh, no. He played for you guys too for a year. Yeah, that's right. I thought I was going to have the next Tom Brady on my hands. Coaches had come up to me and said, boy, your kid's got a hell of an arm, blah, 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 And then, and I was kind of happy. I didn't really want Dylan to be a musician because it's not an easy gig. You're home and then you're not home and it's hard. It's not easy. And especially when you have kids, it's really complicated. So I never pushed the music thing on Dylan except good music. I had my vet and put I don't know, maybe Steppenwolf. I put the Beatles on, put Black Sabbath, Paranoid. Oh, check this out. This is, because it was the first album I bought with my own money when I was a kid, was Paranoid. And I didn't want him to kind of like get all like the rest of the kids. I wanted him to kind of like grow up at least with a classic rock background. Never think that he'd be a guitar player. Well, at the age of 12, he came up to me and said, "Hey, Dad, can you show me how to play guitar?" And I'm like, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah, I really want to know, Dad." I said, "All right." So in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I'm going to, bite this. I'm going to, kick this bud right on his ass so he's not going to follow my footsteps. So what do I teach him? Purple Haze, Jimi Hendrix. I'm not showing him like the easy C, A minor.
There's a D
no,
chord.
I'm showing him. This is a jazz chord here. It's an E, like an E major jazz chord, and I'm teaching him these jazz chords, and he's and his little hands, he's kind of making it out, muffled, but he's I said, okay, now play that song for a couple of days, and if you want to know any more, ask me. So a couple of weeks go by, he's still tossing the football. I'm not thinking of anything. But a month later, he comes up to me, and he says, "Hey, Dad, I think I got it." I said, "Got what?" He says, and he starts playing the Hendrix thing, but then he's starting to pick out the lead on it. And I'm like, I said, "Where did you learn that?" He says, "I just listening and learning it." He says, "Can you teach me more?" And I said, "No." I said, I nipped this really quick. I said, "Look," I said, if you really want to learn, I'm going to take you to a buddy of mine, and I'm going to pay for some guitar lessons. And I said, and at the end of a month or something, if you don't want to do it anymore, don't let me keep spending the money to give you lessons. So he went, and my buddy Rick Heseltine, God rest his soul, he passed away now. He says, yeah, I'll teach you, kid. So why don't you teach him? I said, no way. I said, I'm not going to show him something. And he says, no, Dad, that's wrong. So I said, no. I said, you're going to show him, and he'll learn from you a lot faster than, So about 6-7 weeks go by. Dylan comes home, goes in his room. Hey, what you doing? "Oh, I'm just hanging out in my room." All right. And I'd say, you want to play Xbox? Nah. I said, all right. So, I'd go. Well, I get a call 7 weeks to the day. I'm supposed to bring him to the thing. So my wife says, "Hey, it's Rick calling you." I said, "Oh, geez. I bet I'm waiting for him to say, 'Hey, man, he ain't doing anything I've shown him.'" So I looked at my wife and said, "Well, we're going to save some money, I think." So I go say, "Hey, yeah, so Rick," I said, "So how bad is it?" He said, "Well," he says, "Look, if you want me to keep babysitting Dylan, I don't mind." So I'm like, "Oh, so it's a waste of time for him, and I'm wasting my money." That's the first thing I thought of, I said, "Yeah, he's not doing good, huh?" He said, "No, that's not it." He says, "I'm teaching your kid, something, and he's coming back on a lesson, nailing it, and then he shows me other stuff that he just learned and wants me to teach him something I'm not ready to show him for another month." He said, "It's amazing." He says, "He's going to be a monster." He said, "If he continues that way." My wife says, "Vinny, when he get a chance, she'd let him join your band." I said, "I don't know, 13 and a half years old, Julian." I said, "That's really young to play in a bar."
Yeah.
I had some strict rules with Dylan. No matter what. And till this day, I always tell him that, "Hey, we're buddies in that, but remember, I'm your dad first before we're friends. And I'm always looking out for you." He's the one that runs Crazy Train. He's the one that does all the business. I don't do I really. I just pick the mic and sing. He does everything. He's amazing.
I want to know,
Yeah.
what is the most requested? What's the song you absolutely have to play at every?
Yeah, I don't do Crazy Train.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding you. I'll have a lot of nasty texts after me. Oh yeah, and they're not scared to tell me either. When I'm out and I tell the crowd, there's only one man and one man can do this, and I point up to the heavens to Ozzy, and when you hear him say, "All aboard," I'm going, "I." But as I'm doing that, the jubilation on these people's faces. I mean, the jubilation. It's bone chilling.
Right.
It's like watching somebody winning the lottery beside you. So they know it's not me, and they realize that's Ozzy. The jubilation of the crowd. But I always say, "Ozzy, you'll always be loved." You'll see me kind of like sometimes, that's what I'm saying, "Ozzy, you'll always be loved." It's amazing, It really is. The people just love him that much. And to come to our shows and celebrate what he created in that, it's magical.
What is?
It's really magical.
What's the most difficult song? What's the one that?
The most difficult song, believe it or not, all of them. Because, for me at least, because my natural voice, I don't sing like Ozzy.
Okay.
I got my own voice.
Yeah.
So I have to always constantly remember, I'm singing like Ozzy. I talk like Ozzy. You know? And I never want to get out of character. And this is the reason why. Not because I want people to think that I'm Ozzy. That's not it. I don't mind telling them, hey, I'm not Ozzy. I say that through in parts of my shows, like, there's only one Ozzy, and there'll never be another one like him on earth. I want them to realize I put in the sweat, the hard work, discipline, the responsibility, because people pay money to see this show. So there's a big responsibility on my shoulders to make sure that they walk out saying, you know, I've had musicians that open up for us. But he said, but boy, when you came out in costume and came out to tell us to have a good show in your Oz-like voice, he said, I went to the guys and said, oh, these guys are going to be good because they're already in that zone. That's why I don't get out of character, because I want people like that to know that I don't take myself seriously, but I take the character of Ozzy very seriously, that I do not want to ever tarnish or say the wrong thing or in some way have one fan ever felt like I disrespect Ozzy.
How long did it take you to develop that singing voice to be so close?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. Now, when we were doing our cover band thing, okay, I was doing a lot of Journey. I was singing a lot of Foreigner, White Snake. I loved White Snake, especially the real high scream. I loved it. You know, yeah, David Coverdale. And we did some Ozzy. You know, we did Crazy Train, No More Tears, and there was one more, and I can't remember what we did, but when I did the Ozzy things, I've had people come up and say, wow, you know, sound pretty close to Ozzy. That's pretty good. The year COVID happened, we're doing private parties Friday nights to Saturday nights that we weren't supposed to do, because none of us could go to work, and we would rehearse and we'll start working on this Ozzy project. And I would watch every video, every interview, the Osbournes, everything I can get. My wife thought it was going to be a passing fad. She'd go in the other room and watch TV while I'm watching my big, I got like a 60-inch big screen, and I'm watching everything, every little movie's making that, every concert footage, you know. And then by the second month, she's not an evil person, she's a lovely person, but I think she was saying, I'm either going to kill him, or I could divorce him, or just give up. I'm going to help him out. And thank God that's the third one. So she started sitting with me now. And at this time, I started working part-time, you know, because I'm a school bus driver when I'm not doing this. And so we started delivering food for a couple hours a day and that. And so I kind of volunteered my work to deliver food for the kids and that. So I'd come back home. My wife would say, okay, Ozzy, yep. And she'd point out all these little things that Ozzy would do that maybe she didn't think I was doing. And so she helped me immensely by that. And the one thing she told me that my first show that we did, you know, we were talking, and she says, I want to give you some criticism, helpful criticism. I said, yeah, absolutely, anything. I said, what, my singing? She goes, no, your singing you got the singing good. I said, the way I talk? She says, yeah, once in a while, you'll say one or two words without the accent. She says, you need to kind of like work on that. And I knew that, so she wouldn't tell me nothing new. But the one thing she said, something that I didn't even realize, she says, you're not smiling enough. She says, you're taking your songs too seriously. And she says, if you watch Ozzy, he's not like emotionally into the song. He's singing the words and then he's smiling all the time.
It's true.
Because I know it's new, but she says that you got to get away from that. You got to smile more. So I rewatched a lot of his concerts, and I said, you know what? I said, you probably kind of helped me save my career. I said, I never realized that. And so I'll tell you, I love this.
Yeah.
I really love this because you guys are making me realize, how fortunate as a band and as an entertainer, how fortunate I am. I'm really lucky.
That really comes across. Have you ever focused on anything like you focused on Ozzy before? Is this part of your personality, or is this you just discovered this passion?
No, it's not. This wasn't part of my personality.
Were you a focused school bus driver? Like you were going to drive that bus like nobody ever did before?
It's funny because I'm to the point now that I've trained myself now. You could do it right on the button. The first couple of shows, I had to go in a room by myself. I had to concentrate and get in it. And now I can go in and out of Ozzy when I want. And the joke in the band is like, they go up to my wife when we're like maybe to the club together, and they're saying, you better hope he never snaps into it and never can get out of the Ozzy thing, because you'll be living with Ozzy for the rest of your life. So that's the big joke now.
Have you ever done this before? Any kind of acting? Like
now, what was your question? Did I ever
have you ever done acting before? Like, did you study acting? Like this?
No.
This all
No.
happened because of Ozzy.
Yeah, it's not. I think when I was a kid, I'd like to have been an actor. I had but music is like, it's just. And once I saw the Beatles, that was it.
Yeah.
That was it. That's all I ever wanted to do after that.
One of the biggest things about being an actor is committing to the role. I mean, that's really what you're doing. It's just.
I do that not just for me. I do that for the success for Crazy Train, but I do that because I always think about the fans. That never escapes my mind once. I'm always thinking about that person sitting down there watching the show.
Right.
I came to see somebody that would remind me maybe the good old days when I saw an Ozzy show or something like that, and hopefully they walk out with the attitude of, you know what, it was worth every penny I spent.
When you get back to Florida and come back and see us. Let's stay in touch.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
man.
we're there in September. I'll give me in the middle of next week. I'll text you all the dates that we're going to be back in there. I think we're in. Is it Denali or something like that? Diani or whatever. I think we're playing close up to the Villages somewheres too. So
We'll find you.
Yeah, we'll find you.
it was a pleasure talking to you guys.
Same here. Yep.
Thanks an awful lot for everything you do. Thanks for showing those guys the video. I appreciate that. The guys were like falling over themselves, like, holy crap, I can't. My son thought it was, we had like a Netflix corporation do it, and he thought it was them. I said, no, that's my buddy Tom that was at the Villages, and he had to think back. And he goes, oh yeah, yeah, that's the one that I sent the thing. I said, yep, that's him.
I'll be there in about 3 minutes. Did you have fun? Please, today before you lay your heads to rest, study a little prayer for Ozzy. On behalf of Crazy Train, Ozzy Experience, God bless you, thank you so much. We love you all.